We discuss data at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year. The students know which RIT band they're in, what their RIT score is. We plot that at the beginning of the year, and we discuss a goal for each individual student, and they keep folders that have this information in it, along with the math and the reading RIT scores. They also keep fluency progress monitoring in there. I make modules within Canvas based on RIT bands, and the students know which RIT band they're in, and I make a module that has a video, practice, and a creation or quiz for each RIT band and the skills that are within each RIT band. To do that, you can go to the Learning Continuum and the Test View, and it lists each skill within 160 to 169, and then you can build modules off of that.
We're going.
Okay. When differentiating instruction, like all teachers, I start with an understanding of where my students are, using all of the resources we have, long-term resources, PSAT material, NWEA results, and I also use day-to-day information and observations to determine what students need differentiation and where. The next step is, of course, going to my lesson plans, and in the lesson plan, I start with what standards we're going to be working on, and based on that, I then differentiate in my lesson plan and know where the differentiations come in and if there are additional resources I need to prep for the students. I make adjustments, and differentiation, I believe, starts with an understanding that students can only work slightly above their level and incrementally grow. It's Stephen Krashen's research on I+1. So as students move from below level to approaching level to at level work, I try to take them one step at a time. This is an example of adding visuals and providing the students with even the smallest touch of highlighting in the notes and annotating can be helpful. When I have material that students are doing, for example, a writing prompt, this is what an at-level student will do as we're working through topic sentences. This is actually teacher notes with underlining adjusted font to support students who need differentiation. Our technology is a key to my differentiation in the classroom, whether it's through ExamView or Canvas and all of the item analysis and retesting and iterations of work I can give, or it could be Turnitin where I can discrete point monitor their digital writing, and our vocabulary service online. Technology is one of the keys. This tells me exactly what discrete point that they're incurring a problem, or if they actually are growing, and I can adjust instruction and exercises. There are always next steps for a teacher when you're differentiating, so making sure that I have all the scaffolded materials I need for those incremental steps, making sure I adjust and have access to the materials before class, during class, after class, at home, ELC. All of that access via technology is one of the keys to differentiation. And I always make sure I go back and ask myself if I need to go back to the same skill or if I need to adjust a learning material for learning style. There are some additional steps in communication that we have to use as teachers when we differentiate. That's making sure I talk with the student, talk with parents, talk with other teachers, talk with other educational leaders and support staff, in addition to using what resources the student has in the classroom, and that can even be differentiated seating so that they're near a student who's at their level or slightly above and can encourage them. In the end, I would say that the key to my adjusting any materials and instruction to meet the individual and incremental needs of the student come down to acceptable incremental steps of I+1 with all of the resources that we have. I hope hope that's been helpful.
We tend to do about half of our session as whole group and the other half is all small group. I'm lucky that I have Mr. Thornburg in there with me. So in our small groups, every single day, our 2 lowest groups meet with both of us during a rotation. So with him, they're working on sometimes literature circle stuff, sometimes nonfiction reading. With me, we're always working on our reading skill of the week. So those kiddos that might struggle with it more are going to get much more instruction with a teacher than my kiddos who can kind of grab it and run with it. While we're doing that, the other kids are meeting with their lit circles, which are leveled readers at their level. So they are reading novels that are at their level. They have little projects to go with those. They are also working through modules on this week's skill, and the modules build up as they go. So it starts out kind of instructional, kind of learning, again, the skill, but it works up through Bloom. So at the end of the week, my higher kids are going to get further. So they'll be doing some application, and then we can...
Let's think about what she's saying. Is it just something that happens in the story? Or what the story is mostly about, right? So it's kind of the big idea in the story. And then like you were saying, Gabby, everything else is a detail. Okay, so it's going to support your main idea. So, we're going to read a story together today, and we're going to see if we can figure out the main idea. What are our little cheats that we learn? Where can you look in a story to see if you can find the main idea? Okay. In the text, yes, but where? The title sometimes gives you a clue to what the main idea is. Very good. The first paragraph and the last paragraph sometimes gives us a clue. Good. No, but sometimes that's a good place to look.
Where's the British Army getting its colonists and council civics thing getting Where do they sleep? They sleep in the colonists' houses. Where do they eat? In the colonists' houses.
Okay, I'm Nate Clark, and I teach middle school math.
Okay, and tell me about how you differentiate your curriculum.
Okay, I do pre-quizzes at the beginning of every week, and I have a post-quiz at the end of the week, which is similar. And if students show in the pre-quiz that they've gotten most of the way there, I don't have them go at the same pace as the other kids in the class. I try to break things down. So let's say there's 7 or 8 objectives in the week. I want all the kids to get to the same objectives by the end of the week. But if some kids are already there or they get there faster, then I can extend what they're doing throughout the week. And they can go at a different pace, whether it's through different technology things that I have them do, or different games, or different enrichment things. I still grade them all on the same things, but the pacing may be different based on the student.
And what would you say to someone who said that if you differentiate your instruction, you are actually maybe allowing the lower kids to not be on the same level, or maybe their grade is different?
Okay, so I'm assessing all the students on the same standards throughout the week. They'll get there at different paces, and some students I'll extend beyond the standard. For instance, right now we're doing greatest common factor, and it's supposed to be numbers that are less than 100. Well, my kids that are already there, I'm having them go beyond that, but I'm still just grading them based on that same baseline as everybody else. So even though they're working on more challenging things, that we still need to challenge them and not just say this is the baseline. So though their assignments may be different, I think the rigor should be similar based on whatever level the student's at. They still need to move at the same pace wherever they are. They still need to increase throughout the week about the same amount.
I differentiate my class on a daily basis. In Spanish, we do all sorts of activities to ensure that everyone's comprehension is where it needs to be. On a regular basis, we do lecture. We do partner activities, we do group activities, we'll do speaking activities, listening activities, games. We get the kids up and moving. I really try to make sure I get all the learning styles addressed on a regular basis. Also, when it comes to projects, I like to allow for choices. I'll let the kids decide if they'd like to work in groups, if they'd like to work by themselves, the topic. I'll give them a list of topics that they can choose from. I also use differentiation by formative assessment. I'm regularly checking for understanding, whether it be that I'm asking them a question in class, and from a lower student I might just accept, oh, C, but from my higher student I might expect him to say C and then elaborate a little more on what I'm asking him. I also use my flipped mini quizzes on a regular basis to tell me, okay, they're getting this, I need to change my lesson plan to make it a little more difficult, or that was a struggle, we need to do something to help them get where they need to be. That's how I use differentiation in my classroom.
Williams, and I teach second grade, and I'm going to tell you just a little bit about how I differentiate my reading block. So if we're studying a certain topic, I might choose 3 different passages if I've leveled my kids into 3 different groups, and I level them based on their Lexile levels and guided reading level, Fontenay-Pinnell levels, which we get that from our NWEA data. So I might, during my guided reading block, pull them over, have these different levels. My low kids, probably what I would give them would be a cold read or a fresh read, and it's normally the strategic intervention passage. And I don't normally even preview it with them. I just kind of send them, I give them an iPad, we're lucky to have iPads, and they go to iTalk, and they have to record themselves reading the passage. After they've read the passage, I make them listen to themselves again to think, was that fluent reading, was that not fluent reading? And I make them do that 2 more times, and hopefully the goal is by the time they get to the 3rd read of that fresh read, that they're pretty fluent at it. My mid group, they can have a good conversation with me, and they can pretty much do a lot of independent work after that, after we've read the story and I've done that guided reading lesson with them. My high kids, I normally give them a certain passage or story, and then I let them to kind of take it to the next level. Use the technology that we have available to us and create a project, delve a little bit deeper. Can you tell me more about, or make some connections, some text-to-text connections, text-to-world or text-to-self connections. Those are some really fun ways that they like to do that. A lot of times I'll let my middle group kids do that too if we have enough iPads available, because they see those high kids and it helps kind of pull them in that direction.
Molly asked me to share how I differentiate in classrooms. So a couple of different things. Classes that I have a lot of strong students in versus classes that maybe struggle a little bit more. I actually really focus on product. So I might have a different end product that I'm expecting for the one class versus the other, and I can adjust that based on the assignment that I give them. Another thing that I do even individually with students versus in classes is work on the procedure, the way I actually give the information. I'm fortunate in a science classroom that I can have students in small groups, and so students that are working are a little bit stronger, can work independently and have less guided information, and then the other groups I can work with individually to help them. Obviously, mastery is important, but mastery can be found both in our procedure as well as in our product. So as well as placement of the groups, I think differentiation can occur within the group placements.